The hosts of Bracketology are experts in nothing. They claim no advanced knowledge or profound insights. Instead, they are just three judgmental idiots who really like to bloviate their own opinions whenever given the chance. Take what they have to say with a grain of salt, or not at all. You'll probably be better off that way.
You have to assign the other co-hosts a horror icon that they are.
From the list, or we're opening
I'd say in general.
Like what horror icon most represents your co-hosts?
Mm-hmm.
Dan's the Blob.
Wow.
Fuck you.
Look, I had to take the
God.
shot. I had to take the shot before anyone else did. I looked down, my eyes hit with that, and I went, I have to say this immediately.
I think personally, and I'm just going to throw this out there for you, Dan, yours would be the whole family in the woods and Deliverance.
Oh, wow. I'd rather be the Blob.
There is a certain kind of to Dan, isn't there?
There is not a single bit of rapey incest in me.
Bro, it's in your voice. The people can hear it.
They hear the twang, but that is not synonymous with rapey incest.
The twang of a banjo as you're going down the river.
For Scott, Dan?
God, I don't know. What's like... Come back
I feel
to
like,
me. I need
can
to
I
think
answer
about
for
this.
myself?
You can try.
You're going to probably disagree, but I feel like I'm a bit of a Chucky. I think I'm just quippy and annoying enough to be a Chucky.
I mean, you might not be wrong with that because you started out kind of serious, but then over time you just get dumber and dumber.
Yeah, no, absolutely. At this age, I know very little. I used to know a lot of things. I don't know much anymore.
Yeah. And
go on. This is coming back to bite you now. And
your wife is almost a toy like you.
What do you? Because she's
small.
small.
Yeah. She is very short.
Yeah, that's true.
She
I'm
is
just kidding, Ashley.
doll-like in size.
I'm gonna start calling her doll now.
Wait.
See if she catches on.
I never watched that movie, but wasn't the Bride of Chucky also a blonde?
Yes, she was. Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna, I think Chucky's a good one for Scott.
Sweet.
I have to agree, unless I can come up with a more demeaning
Nailed
one
it.
in my head.
You're welcome, guys. I just did your job for you.
Well, he
Carry
does
on
like
this
to hang out
podcast.
in sewers and try to get kids to come get candy.
Yeah, so Pennywise is what you're thinking?
It is too late to be making fun of me now. I already gave you the answer. You trying to circle back, take cheap shots.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable over here.
Matt, so for you, I'm just going to say I'd like some sort of alien, but like the gray-haired alien. And the reason that I say that is because with your taste in food, you cannot be this cannot be your home planet. Like,
no.
What?
Matt is 100% Norman Bates.
Norman Bates.
Matt is 100% Norman Bates. First off, just look at the lighting in his video. Like, it's giving off some real Norman Bates energy.
What's wrong with the lighting?
The light angle on your face, the shadows, it brings some real Norman Bates energy.
I'm trying to set the mood
But
for spoopy season.
I don't agree because he's not setting the mood for his mom. And that's a kind of key part of Norman Bates.
Sure. I'm not necessarily including the mommy issues. I'm just talking about the overall aura that he gives.
Yeah.
He gives this real sense of like normal, and to jump on the TikTok trend from a few weeks ago, very demure.
Yeah.
But there's a sinister underlying area there. And I think referencing the culinary intricacies of our friend Matt here, he's stuck in a very childlike state. And I think Norman Bates might also qualify in that category. So I think he's Norman Bates.
I don't like it.
I'm still going with Alien.
Okay. I mean, that's fine.
All right, hold on. So to recap, I'm the Blob.
No. That was just a joke because if I didn't say it, one of you two assholes would have. That I agree with Matt. You are definitely the rednecks from Deliverance.
God damn it! I'm the Blob.
or Dracula
No,
because
don't
you're
keep saying
1,000
you're
years
the
old.
Blob. You're not the Blob.
Is-
You're in denial right now. You're in denial about the things your family has done.
all right.
So anyway, to recap, you are the folks from Deliverance.
Matt is an alien Norman Bates.
It's an alternative version of Norman Bates where he's just coming a sick alien here to do experiments on people.
The hotel is just on another planet.
Yeah, there we go. They're galactic travelers.
Yeah, and then Scott, you are Chucky.
Nailed it.
Wait, hold on. Scott, just really quick, seriously. Can you take your hat off for just a moment?
This feels like it's gonna be mean.
Why?
All right.
It's very demure.
Very cutesy.
Okay.
Isn't that just look like Chucky, though?
No, it looks like Peyton fucking Manning. Look at this 5 head. Oh my god. How dare you make me take my hat off on camera? You know why I wear this.
The fact that you did it, though.
God.
Well, maybe I am Norman Bates.
I trusted you. Fucking psycho. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Bracketology, the podcast that definitively decides all things tournament bracket style. I am still the thing under your bed because I forgot to change my name. Scott Grubb.
I am hiding under the bed. Matt Robinson?
Probably not a good choice with me under there.
Or the best choice, because I'm the ghoul. Dan Default.
This week, we continue through our Horror Icon Championship. Matt, where are we at?
We are at the Eerie 8.
Very
That
nice.
was my slight take on some ASMR.
I'm slightly aroused.
Take the Eerie.
This week,
in your ear.
oh God,
It's
no.
time.
Nope. All right,
Oh.
we're not.
Did we
Hey,
lose it?
we've talked about creating segments for the show. Tell you what, that's not going to be one of them. This week we will visit each division. We have one matchup in each division to go round robin with. So I guess do we want to read them all or just pick one and start?
Pick one and start.
All right, let's just
All right,
do
Dan, where are we going?
I
You were
kind of
passionate
want to
out of the
start
gate.
with Universal Monsters. If I'm being honest, I think these two are probably the most iconic out of anybody else in the bracket, and I kind of want to talk about them.
Yeah, I think there's some validity behind that. So the matchup here is the Mummy versus Dracula. So Dracul, Vlad the Impaler versus Mummy
Count Chocula,
versus the Mummy.
Count from Sesame Street.
The Count, yeah. Got
Yeah.
a one, two, Mummy. So you've got you got two options, and I agree with Dan. I think that these are two of the most iconic things when it comes to Halloween and monsters and spoopy season and Oktuki and all of the things that
Not a thing.
exist. The Mummy and the Dracula, right? And I think you have to like break this down a little bit because with the Mummy, I was making fun of it, but it really is a mummy. Like there's not, in a way, you could kind of group that in with zombies, right? Because that's
It's
kind
it's
of what
just
a mummy
zombie
is.
wrapped up in toilet paper.
It's a magical
With-
zombie.
Yeah, they have magic. You know, they can absolutely do things beyond the realm of what a zombie can do.
I see where you're coming
Like they
from.
can duel.
If
3 people are going to get that total. I
if
appreciate it.
if I get where you're coming from, right? In that one very specific piece of media or I guess franchise, that is the case. But to the general populace, the people who are walking through a Walmart and see a plastic mask of a mummy and go, "Oh, that's a mummy," they don't know that. The general populace thinks of a mummy as a zombie wrapped in toilet paper, or not toilet paper, bandages or whatever.
I
Like
think
those
that is
those magical powers were added so late in the mythos of mummy that it's not I don't know, it's not a core characteristic of what a mummy is, I think, to the general populace.
I
Maybe
think
I'm wrong.
that is
That's my 2
yeah.
cents.
I think that's a gross over simplification of what a mummy is, and I think the general populace knows that they might not know the exact powers that a mummy has, but if you ask a mummy if they had powers, most people are going to say yes.
I think most of them would be like, oh.
I don't think he
But-
realizes what he said.
No,
Yeah.
all right. If you asked people, general people, if mummies had powers, I think the general population would say yes. They might not be able to say the specific power set, but they would say yes, they are magical.
Again, I know I'm in the minority here because literally what I'm about to say will point that out mathematically. But I did not know that until talking to you two chuckle fucks. So again, I know that's 2 people were telling me
Well,
the one that, but I don't know. I mean, maybe
as
I'm
has been pointed out in the comments. Get in the comments.
get in the
Scott,
comments
your
and somebody say this so that he can say
your-
it was pointed out.
pop cultural knowledge has some room for improvement.
Whoa, come at me, bro.
Hey,
Matt
Are we
brought
gonna-
the tea?
We are going to have to throw down on a trivia challenge now. I wanted to go out and have a friendly trivia night together, like on a team, but I feel like now you just made it a competition.
look, if you are that excited to lose to me again,
Oh,
feel free.
all
Look,
right. I feel some video content coming on for the Bracketology YouTube channel.
I agree. I think this is one of the things that we could branch out into. But right now, we have a debate between the Mummy and Dracula. And I'm just going to throw my 2 cents in because I think the iconography of these two are, again, so off the charts. And Scott, I think you said this a couple episodes ago. You said that these are 2 of the earliest creatures that kids get kind of introduced to, right? You see Draculas and mummies everywhere. They are up there with like the ghost and stuff like that, and the pumpkins. They are splattered all over Halloween and this time of year. So I don't think that you can really edge one of these 2 competitors in iconography out over the other. So I think it comes down to the horror aspect. And, you know, I got to say, both of them would be terrifying. One of them would scare me shitless. And
Well, I think there's a couple things to talk about. And one in response to yours, Dan. I think edging either of these 2 would be difficult since neither of them have blood running through their system. But I do believe...
But damn if Dan doesn't want to try, you know?
Yeah. But I do think there's something to be said. Like the Mummy, even if you just want to boil it down to what did they create, right? The Mummy we'll call a fancy zombie. Zombies are huge. Like they are in culture, in media, like in the last 20 years. I don't know that anything has had more screen time than zombies. Now with Dracula, you've got the vampires. And again, pretty huge. Like they've had a ton of TV shows, a ton of movies that have come out. Some of them take more artistic liberties than others, sure, but they all kind of come from that same origin of drinking blood to stay young and live forever. Dracula himself having more, powers, the ability to turn into smoke or a bat or other things, let alone the,
teleportation, super
hypnotizing
strength.
people.
Yeah. Hypnosis.
But so they both have a a seat at this table for a reason, and that is because they are the most iconic versions of those genres. I don't know. I feel like it can go. I was leaving that
Just
on,
in thought.
yeah, but you just didn't. So
Okay,
I
I'm
think
right
that
here.
I think both of these have a say at the title. I just do.
I don't think you can take the Mummy and round it up into the same category as Zombie. I think it is a very specific type of zombie that often
What
isn't
make
thought about as a zombie, but I don't think it gains clout for being a zombie.
I kind of agree with that, and I actually think that the lore of zombies predates the lore of mummies.
Oh, I don't know about that.
I mean,
But
I'll take your word for it, I guess.
there's also, again, bringing up a point that was kind of relevant and mocked last week. Both of these have a hint of reality to them, right? But the mummies is like mummies are a thing. Like there are mummies. Now, granted, they're not actually up and walking around and all that, but I think there's something to be said about that reality. And then Dracula was what, an actual count?
Vlad the Impaler
Yeah.
was the inspiration for Dracula. Dracul. I mean, there are tons of different origin stories to the idea behind Dracula, but
Yeah.
my understanding from Bram Stoker and kind of that origination of vampires comes from the legends of Vlad the Impaler, who was I don't remember exactly what. I mean, Romanian, something along
Something
those
like
lines.
that, yeah. Transylvanian, duh.
But very much a willingness to be very bloodthirsty and kill anything and quote unquote eat his enemies to gain their power.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously both of these realities got greatly exaggerated. I guess it's kind of a question of, with that exaggeration, which one's more terrifying? I don't know. I just don't think about the superpowers when I think of a mummy.
Yeah, but I do think that, to me, if you look at both, and maybe I'm wrong, right, in putting zombies in there, but according to Google, zombies have been in folklore since like the 17th century,
Yeah.
which is a couple thousand years after mummies existed. So I'll just throw that out there.
Yeah, I was wrong.
So again, progenitor to zombies, mummy, in one way or another. Either way, I think that when you talk about these two, I think over time the horror aspect has lessened for both of these.
Yeah, I mean, they're characters on breakfast cereals, and they're parts of McDonald's Happy Meal
kids,
toys. Yeah,
and kids' movies and TV shows.
yeah.
However,
Hotel Transylvania.
The iconography and when you look at it, knowing what it is and what does it represent, and for both of these, it represents spoopy season. Like it just does. When you see the Mummy Pez dispenser, you know that it's Halloween time. If
Right.
you see a Dracula,
Pez dispenser.
I was trying to come up with something else, but yeah,
The fake plastic Dracula teeth.
Yeah.
you see the fake plastic Dracula teeth, you think of Halloween. So synonymous with the time of year. I think it's just, which one do you think has more of that icon status?
I'm just gonna shoot from the hip because I like I said, just airing it out there. I think of both of these very much at that like Happy Meal toy level at this point. That's just kind of what how maybe it's because I'm a parent, I don't know, but it's how their iconography resonates with me to this today. But I definitely remember a time period where like I knew them as other versions of themselves. And I think I mean, I never really watched. Hey, again, here we go. Hot take. Never really watched the Brendan Fraser mummy movies, I don't believe. Never saw any of that. So maybe that's why I'm out of the loop with the superpower thing. But to me, I think all the different iterations there have been of Dracula and all of the, I don't know, the commonality of that figure, I think they're very close, but I think Dracula to me edges the Mummy slightly. So I'm by a hair, I'm going to put Dracula. By an awesome widow's peak, I'm going to put Dracula ahead in this category.
Is that your official vote?
That is my official vote on the table.
All right.
Dracula.
Daniel?
Again, I think their level of icon status is the same. So to me, it goes off of the horror factor. And I think out of both of these two characters, the one that's easier to make scary, and you're right, it is like Happy Meal level right now because they're just everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But there have been legitimately scary vampire movies recently. And none of the vampires would exist without Dracula. Dracula gets my vote.
Well, I mean, the argument against that is the upcoming reboot of Nosferatu, who would say that Nosferatu comes before Dracula. But I agree. I mean, I do think that both of these hold a very high level of clout in horror icons and in Halloween in general. But Dracula's the king. I mean, he has been that for so long and continues to be a part of pop culture and lore, and any kind of new vampire tale, Dracula gets talked about. Right?
Oh, for sure.
I
remember.
I think you got to give it to the Dracul.
Yeah, I remember when freaking Twilight came out and he was all sparkly and everyone's like, that's not what vampires are. Dracula's what vampires are.
Dracula.
And
All right.
those people were correct.
Yeah.
100%.
The first of our Freaky Four, Dracula, moves on. Where are we going next, Scott?
Let's get silly with it. We're heading over to Paranormal for Chucky versus Pennywise. This is the dumbest matchup.
Chucky, murderous ghost.
Oh, God, I thought you were just voting there. That was there was so much authority behind it. I believe
Chucky is
you.
a murderous ghost trapped inside of a doll. He makes wisecracks, and generally, I think it's stupid. So my vote is for Pennywise.
Wow.
I hate clowns. I hate clowns.
Are you taking into the fact that Mark Hamill just voiced Chucky in the remake not too long ago?
Well, based on the fact that I didn't know that, no.
Yeah, you should look it up. The movie didn't do well, and I never saw it, but I love Mark Hamill and support him.
Sure, we all love Luke Skywalker and the Joker, but it doesn't help Chucky move forward. Like, to me, clowns have become such a terrifying figure to me and to many, many people. It has its own phobia.
Yeah.
Even if that's not all that Pennywise is, even if it's not always a clown, right? It turns into a fucking spider. It creates an orgy, whatever it is. It starts as that creepy clown. I'm voting Pennywise. This is the clear winner in my eyes. Period.
Yeah. I mean, I understand, but I don't think you should discount just how much of an icon Chucky is in the horror realm. Like, Child's Play was incredibly popular. And one of the things that I always think about, I know it's stupid and I probably already told you the story, but we forced one of my best friend's younger brothers to watch Child's Play, and he had a My Buddy doll. And I don't think that there was any correlation between those two companies when these things came out. But when you were a child growing up in the 80s and Child's Play came out and you had a My Buddy doll, that was a source of real terror for you in that time period.
That thing stared at me at night.
Yeah,
I think
creepy.
Yeah. I do think most podcasts get at least 10 episodes before they start repeating stories, but you have said that one on this bracket.
Yeah.
However, I'm not disagreeing with you, and I don't want to take away from what Chucky had. And honestly, if there are any goth women that really like Chucky and want to prove me wrong, DM me.
Strap him down.
Mm-hmm.
Turn on the
Teach me
movie.
better. But
teach
realistically,
him some things.
he's not scary anymore. Like, he's just not. He may still be iconic. He's not horrific in any way. He's not horrifying.
I joked that this was the dumbest matchup, but I still see how we got here, right?
Yeah.
I still disagree with how we got here, but yeah.
But again, I'm going to recap it because I think it's relevant to today's argument. The reason that Chucky got here over Annabelle was simply the icon level. Like, that's really what made the big difference for him. He is, like him or not, he is an undeniable icon in the horror genre today. He's like the Dave Matthews Band of horror icons. He has a very devoted fan base. Those that like him are...
And they all kind of smell funny.
Those that like him... I didn't say that, for the record.
Neither did I, goth women.
Yeah. Those that like him have a very strong, devoted love of him. If you see a fan of Chucky, they're going to have like a purse that's shaped in Chucky's head, and they're going to have pins and stuff on their lapel that have Chucky on it, or on their strap for their whatever. Like, they're devoted fans. And that's what got him over Annabelle, right? Was into this. And I think there's certainly an aspect of that has to be respected and recognized here too. I mean, that devoted fan base, Pennywise, I don't think Pennywise has the same fan base for the same reason. I think part of the reason that Pennywise has the fan base is because people love Tim Curry. And it's not just a true love for the character, it's a love for Tim Curry as Pennywise. I don't think today's Pennywise has that same level of clout. It's still iconic, but I just nowhere to the same degree. Is it more horrific? Again, yeah, to a degree, but Chucky started out that way. And I think, again, I mean, I know I said we have to think about the character as a whole. I still think there's some respect to be had for those early movies, although he's very campy today. You're not wrong.
Yeah. I think it's time to vote, gentlemen.
Well, Matt already decided. He's already voted. He voted 5 minutes ago. All right. Dan, go ahead then.
I think, you're right. Chucky did get here because of his iconic level. And again, growing up at that time frame, the My Buddy doll being out, this is a weird thing to say, but when I was decorating my cornhole boards, I got those Garbage Pail Kid stickers. Do you guys remember those?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And yeah, Chucky absolutely on those. But so is Pennywise. I think Pennywise, to me, is every bit, if not more, iconic than Chucky. And I think the terror level is definitely still there. Like, yeah, Tim Curry, absolutely amazing as Pennywise. But Skarsgård killed it too.
Yeah.
And that scene where he's doing that dance and the camera is staying on his eyes, that is absolutely, like, horrific.
I'm maybe biased to that degree because I really did not like the second movie. I think it missed the mark completely. I think they tried to focus too much on Bill Hader being a comedian and just, I don't know, I didn't like it.
That's fair, but the first one was great.
Yeah, it was. You're right. All that being said, my vote also would have been for Pennywise in the end anyway. I had to at least fight for Chucky a little bit.
Yeah,
and I felt like I had to justify his existence at this point in the bracket, but it was time for him to go be campy on FXX or whatever he's on.
All right.
That seems like the right channel.
Probably. That moves us to having two in the Freaky Four, Dracula and Pennywise. Up next, we want to go down to the creatures.
I think we have to go to creatures next, yeah.
Okay.
Which is really to say we have to save slashers for last.
we have The Thing, John Carpenter's The Thing versus the Xenomorph. He's French
Yeah.
this week.
Apparently,
No.
he's French Canadian. They film in Toronto.
So the alien,
They got him real
from-
cheap because he didn't have to travel.
The alien from Alien. I think this one is another one for me. I feel is a little bit. There's one that touches me just a
Whoa.
little bit nicer
Consensually.
than the other. And
Where did the xenomorph touch you, Matt?
I'm going to show you on this pickle.
From tip to base.
Put your pickle away.
It's my emotional support pickle. It's not a plug. I don't know where it's from. Someone gave it to me. To me, I feel like The Thing is iconic in its inspiration and in its. I think it created a framework for how horror movies will act for the next, potential century. I think that it was the beginning to the unknown adversary genre. And maybe this is recency bias, but the Xenomorph is the Xenomorph. I mean,
Good point.
It's terrifying. It is an incredible design, like to the point where there is so much fan art of the Xenomorph, like doing all kinds of things, whether it's acting like a cat and has an owner, or ripping somebody's face off, or even the face hugger we talked about, right? And just the different stages of terror that go through you when you get attacked by a fucking alien. I think the Xenomorph has this one in the bag pretty handily.
Can you give us more examples of fan art?
I have seen people that have split turkeys and cooked crab legs and had like the neck of the turkey still attached to make it look like a tail, like, or maybe it was sausage. I don't remember, but they did the whole thing up to look like a face hugger for a Thanksgiving dinner. I call that fan art.
I was like, I don't know if that's fan art per se,
I would
but there's
call it.
definitely.
I would say
I
so.
saw a photo of a woman dressed up like a Xenomorph the other day. She also happened to be doing the splits, and it was weird. She
And
completely
no, I don't know.
thought I sent it to you.
No, can't say that picture came through. Sorry.
All right, well, probably gonna have to find that and send it to these guys. But
Go do your research.
The Thing doesn't really have that kind of lasting power, right? Like The Thing is one of those get in, get off, get out kind of adversaries.
Matt, why do you want to fuck all of these characters? What is going on?
Spoopy season just needs a lot of lube, apparently.
It's turning into sploogey season.
Oh, no. No. Oh, the sticky 16.
Okay, Matt. So Matt voted for Xenomorph. Dan, who are you going for?
Jesus Christ, I don't even remember who's voted for what. Like,
I think Matt voted Xenomorph, right?
Yeah, I voted for the Xenomorph. I don't want to talk anymore.
fuck. Like, look, I agree with Matt, at least in part, because I think the Xenomorph is absolutely
Much sexier, yes.
the more iconic and the scarier of the two. Look, all flowers to John Carpenter and all of the work that movie inspired in terms of cinema. But we aren't talking about that. We're talking about the character and Xenomorph. Everything about that character is terrifying. Like, yeah, last week we talked about, seeing the Xenomorph coming, but that's the thing. You wouldn't see the Xenomorph coming. That motherfucker is crawling under the floor or crawling on the wall, or, he is stalking you or it is stalking you, and you run away.
Yeah, but you hear the music.
Ooh, okay, because I hear music all the time. Actually, I don't know why that's crazy. Anyway, like let's say you're running away from a xenomorph. You get into a room, you're all tired. You hunch over against the wall, and then you hear that gushy sound of one of the eggs opening, and a face hugger jumps out and gets you. Like all of those things are both terrifying and iconic. The xenomorph gets my vote.
You seem really excited about the gushy sound.
Well, actually, I don't know if you've ever seen the Alien movies. I can't remember.
No, I don't believe so.
Oh,
No, I'm with you guys. Honestly, if I had realized that making Dan go second would mean I didn't get to talk, I probably wouldn't have done it because I like the sound of my own voice. But no, I agree. It's Xenomorph. Dan, I think you made the point last week, and I don't know if it carried enough weight in that argument, but I think it carries over to this one. The Thing as an entity is not necessarily iconic. The idea of the Thing and the movie is, and its impact is, but the character is not. And when you're talking about an icon, you're talking about the character. Xenomorph is more iconic in that space. I can vividly picture that iconic shot of the person's head against the wall and the Xenomorph. I can vividly see that in my head, and I think that there's something to be said for that as being a horrific and iconic image and just a representation of that character. So said my piece anyway. Moving on.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the main event. Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees in the red corner. Who wants to start?
You say this is the main event, and I can see why. I can. But I feel like this would be if this would be just the worst ending to probably a really good WrestleMania. You know what I'm saying? Because it's basically like you just put fucking, I don't even know.
Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley?
Yes, 100%. That is what you've put in the ring right now. You've put in Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley. And I know that I'm narrow casting to the people who are going to get my pro wrestling reference, but imagine you're playing a video game and you both pick Brock Lesnar. That's basically what you just did here.
Yeah, but to a point, and to go along with that same exact argument, Andre the Giant versus Hulk Hogan, as much as we hate Hulk Hogan on this podcast, it stood the test of time. It was the immovable object versus the irresistible force. It is.
It's immovable object versus unstoppable force, not irresistible.
Nope, it's irresistible. We all know Andre the Giant was irresistible.
Have you seen that unitard?
Have you seen that one? But it's that, and I think that people would clamor to see this. Let's be real, we had Freddy versus Jason,
and
right?
People clamored to see it.
That was a thing,
Mm-hmm.
and it divided fans, I think, for the most part. But you did it, and they were two wildly different characters. In this,
but that's why they did that. This is not exciting.
Look, if you talk about a movie that would bring people and put them in the seats, it would be Friday the 13th on Halloween.
I'm not disagreeing with you that it would get people to go out to the movie theater. I agree. I think people would watch that trailer and go, oh shit, Mike Myers versus Jason Voorhees, that sounds awesome. And then they'd go into the reality of that movie is shit. That's a shit movie. That doesn't sound like, if you really think about the reality of that, how do you make that exciting? There's no underdog to that story. You have carbon copies going after each other.
Fuck you. And the last scene you have on the street, right? Let's call it Elm Street. Michael Myers on one side with his knife, his kitchen, his chef's knife. And then you have Jason Voorhees on the other side of the street with his machete.
Surprise twist, the lake is actually at the end of Elm Street. You just drive down Elm Street to get to the lake. Anyway.
That is the scariest location in all of known human history.
Crystal Lake. But surrounding them is police officers and SWAT teams, and there's a child crying in the background being supported by an ambulance driver. And Jason and Michael are just walking towards each other as the police shoot, and anybody that gets close enough gets a machete to the face or a chef's knife to the ass. And either way, there's carnage galore. People die. Then they laugh and high five, and one of them wins.
And the
Yeah.
gentle kiss on the mouth, and turns out it was a romance all along.
Two masks just kissing.
Become one. For me, this is tough because I think you can't really have Spoopy season without these two players, and I think that there's so much that is pulled out of those movies. I think they both have those terrifying sounds.
Man, this episode's full of innuendos, and I don't like it. Continue.
They both have, the terrifying, the piano song from Halloween versus the from Friday the 13th. This, to me, is probably the most difficult discussion we've had up to this point. And to your point, Scott, it is because they are so similar. They're both very tall, very slow, very dedicated, very immortal, very dangerous people.
Very masked.
Yeah, they don't talk.
Very
they
physical.
don't mask. They have, the
very
mask.
silent.
Yeah. It is a very similar thing, and I think that speaks to how successful they are. I'm at the point where my heart is telling me one thing, but my mind is telling me the other.
What's your body telling you?
My body.
That I'm old.
Okay. I mean, I don't know, Scott. What are your thoughts on this actual matchup? Like the competitors, not necessarily the validity of it being the main event.
My thought is that y'all are still wrong about Ghostface last week.
All right.
But
Well,
no,
I gave you a
moving
chance,
on.
and
No, I'm moving on. That's all I had
Michael
to say about
Myers and Jason Voorhees are similar.
it. That was the test, and I failed.
100%. Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees, they are very, very similar. But I do think that, I don't know, you said they're slow, but they always catch their victims.
Somehow.
It speaks to the supernatural aspect of
Yeah.
both of them. Jason coming back to life, literally and figuratively, multiple times, surviving the vacuum of space, fighting Freddy. And there's so much lore associated with Jason. Michael Myers, there's a ton of lore with him as well, but it's all really self-contained within that one universe. It's difficult in that way because they are very similar. I do think that they're the best of the slashers, though, and that's how we got here. Dan, thoughts?
So I could be wrong about this, but didn't the most recent Halloween movie reset that story so that it's only like 1, 2, and this one?
I believe so. Yeah, I think it ended up. I think it went. Which one was Season of the Witch? Was that 3? Or was that 2?
I can't remember.
Because I think it took out the Season of the Witch and then any of them that don't have Jamie Lee Curtis, basically.
How did they just eliminate a huge portion of the...
I think it was 2. So
mythos?
Halloween Season of the Witch doesn't actually involve Michael Myers, if I remember correctly. It is like kind of a separate story. They thought it was going to be more like an anthology series where each one is
Season
different.
of the Witch is the third one.
Is the third one.
Mhm.
So yeah, so it's 1, 2, and there might be one more between Season of the Witch and H2O that they kept in that continuity. But then this one, the newest one, did kind of reset what that lore is.
That's what I thought.
I don't understand how you do that far in.
You almost have to, right? You have to reinvent at least a little bit. But I
Yeah.
think that, and there's so much flack against reboots and soft reincarnations of series or retelling of an origin story that it's like, all right, well, we'll keep some of that and then just kind of move things along.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fellas, are we ready to vote?
I don't know. Scott, you got any thoughts? On this matchup,
Yes, you guys should go ahead and vote though.
so for me, I think that Michael Myers is synonymous with Halloween. I think that mask in and of itself is iconic. I think that when you see or think of a horror villain with a kitchen knife, you think of Michael Myers. Like, I think there are so many things that are associated with him that it is Halloween. However, I think that Jason Voorhees, I think that hockey mask carries as much weight as the Shatner mask, the Michael Shatner, William Shatner mask turned inside out. I think the undyingness, and again the sympathy for the devil a little bit on Jason being a tortured and bullied child to the point where he flips out, right? And he goes after, it's not like he goes after every camper at Camp Crystal Lake. He goes after these irresponsible fucking teenagers that are just off in the woods boinging all night. He's really focused on irresponsible bullies.
Some would
And
say
I'm here for Jason.
Yeah, some would say he's trying to make the streets better.
Hey, he's saving people from STIs and teen pregnancies all the way back to 1980. So my vote goes to Jason.
The other camps call Camp Crystal Lake Camp Chlamydia as a joke.
Yeah.
It's got a reputation.
Yeah, but I mean, joke's on them because chlamydia died in that camp.
You know how you can't catch chlamydia if you're dead. Man.
Well, at least you hope.
I think for me.
So I'm sorry, Matt said Jason, right? That was the final vote?
Yeah.
Okay, just checking.
Matt says Jason. And I think, to me, this matchup, both the horror and the iconic levels are the same, in my opinion. I just think that they're both massively represented in spoopy season and in the horror genre. I think that they go hand in hand. So my vote literally comes to the one that came first, and that is Halloween. I'm voting for Michael Myers.
I just want to say a couple of things before Scott puts his vote in. One, when Dan said that these two go hand in hand, I immediately thought of the original Smash Brothers trailer, or one of the, I think it might have been Smash Brothers Melee, where it's "Why can't we be friends?" and you just have all of the characters running in a field holding hands, but with Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees. Second thing that I want to say, and this is an argument for Scott to think through, both of these movie series, because I know that you haven't watched a ton of the horror movies, both of these horror movies had terrible installments in the series. H2O, many people will look at that as just not existing. And then Jason X, where Jason is in space. Friday the 13th takes place on a fucking space station.
So bad.
And he's got a metal mask. But I'll tell you what, that metal mask is dope as shit. And I remember it way more than Busta Rhymes' choice in casting.
Why and how?
H2O. Why and how what?
Did he get to space?
They put him on a space shuttle because, just send him into space. Then he can't kill anybody.
Except for the people in space.
So then why not just launch him by himself? Why put him on a space station with other people?
Man, they left me out of that conversation.
I'm not paid enough to make those decisions.
I'm just here so I don't get fined. But tell you what, Google Jason X mask.
Oh, shit.
It's a cool looking fucking mask.
It is.
Okay, sure.
It is pretty dope.
Okay, so we have one vote Jason, one vote Mike Myers, right? So here's the thing. Here's my thoughts.
I swear to God, if you say Ghostface, I will end this.
You say that they're very equal to each other from a horror perspective, and I agree with you. You say they're very equal from an icon perspective, and I agree with you. The reason for that is because they are cut and paste copies of each other. They are very equal in everything. They are very equal in size. They're very equal in invincibility. They're very equal in choice of weapon, and they're very equal in everything because they are the same. The only thing that really, to me, differentiates them at all is the mask. One is a hockey mask. The other one is, I don't think it was a William Shatner turned inside out or William Shatner spray painted.
William Shatner turned inside out.
Okay.
It might have also been spray painted, but it was inside out.
Okay. If that's all I've got to go off of, I like the Mike Myers mask more. And also Mike Myers is just kind of fun to say because now there's like somebody who is actually Mike Myers, and that makes me giggle. So for those two stupid reasons, I'm going to say Mike Myers.
All right. Well, then that completes our.
I'm disappointed in this main
Freaky
event.
Four.
Sorry, this what? Completes our. What did you say? I'm sorry,
Freaky
I stepped all
Four.
over it. I know, but I wanted Matt to do it because I felt bad for stepping all over it.
I don't even want to.
Can we get it clean? Can we get it clean?
No.
I'll make it my ringtone if you do it clean.
No, I'm going to show you a sexy xenomorph before you go to sleep tonight, and you're going to be upset.
All right, fine. That gets us to our Freaky Four. That was the end of the Eerie 8. Matt keep just nailing it with these bracket nicknames. What do the fine folks at home have to look forward to next week?
Okay.
Daniel?
I
Yeah.
guess I'm going. Our Freaky Four kicking off with Dracula versus Michael Myers and Pennywise versus the Xenomorph.
It's been a weird, winding road to get us to what I think is a respectable
Yeah.
Freaky Four.
Yeah, we had some weird matchups in here, but I feel pretty good about where we got to. I'm all right with it. I mean,
Ghostface didn't belong in the
I was
Freaky
gonna,
Four.
you know what?
Chucky
You said his
didn't
name.
either.
You said his name. You said his name. Okay. Fucking asshole. Anyway, thank you everyone that has stayed with us through this weird and winding path. If you've enjoyed it, or even if you didn't, I mean, still, it's just a polite and nice thing to do. Share our podcast with your friends. Follow us on all the social medias. Like and subscribe. Get people to listen. It helps a ton. What else we got? Who we got to thank?
We want to thank Carl Casey at White Bat Audio for our Halloween-themed, horror-themed, iconic-themed music for this month with Sanity Unravels.
We'd like to thank Robert England for listening. We know he is.
Yep.
Appreciate the support.
Thank you for years of great
Service?
entertainment.
Of support of the podcast
Yeah,
for the, what
that
did we
too.
say? 37 years we've been doing it.
Yeah.
All right. Fellas, I think that's an episode.
That
All
is.
All right. Once again, I've been Scott.
I'm still Matt.
And I'm still Dan.
Bye-bye!